In the early hours of Thursday morning, 70,000 people gathered in Beijing's Tiananmen Square to mark the 100th anniversary of China's Communist Party. Youth choirs sang revolutionary ballads, while fighter jets and helicopters flew overhead. It was a well-choreographed display of nationalism and power, performed with precision. President Xi Jinping addressed the crowds, saying the party had transformed China from a backward, weak country into a strong, modern one.
We have brought about a historic resolution to the problem of absolute poverty in China, and we are now marching in confident strides towards a second centenary goal of building China into a great modern socialist country in all respects.
Dressed in clothes reminiscent of party founder Mao Zedong, Xi said the party had kept its promise of lifting hundreds of millions out of poverty and would continue to achieve success for the Chinese people.
It is aimed at winning not just respect for the party, admiration for the party, but also an emotional connection between the, Xi and the people. They want to engender that. We are the ones who saved you from foreign depredations and the like. So it works on a number of levels, and of course it's a show of force.
A show of force for friends and adversaries abroad. President Xi had this warning for those wanting to undermine the party's rule.
The Chinese people never allow any foreign forces to bully, oppress, or enslave us. Anyone who dares to do that will be on the collision course against the Great Wall of Steel forged by over 1.4 billion Chinese people.
The leader also praised the party for bringing order to Hong Kong, something achieved through cracking down on the territory's democracy movement, and vowed to reunite Taiwan with China. Beijing considers the self-ruled island a renegade Chinese province. Taipei responded by saying its determination to defend its sovereignty and democracy was unchanged. Not mentioned during the celebrations were the historic failures of the party, the violence and destruction of the Cultural Revolution in the 1960s and 70s, or the brutal crackdown of the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests. Its incarceration of an estimated 1 million ethnic Muslim Uyghurs in so-called re-education camps has also been condemned by governments and rights groups abroad.
They're not openly talked about. It's very hard to research them. So the party wants the highlights, not the lowlights.
While people inside of China appear to be full of praise for the Communist Party, outside it's a different story. This celebration comes at a time when international criticism of Beijing for its policies at home and abroad are at an all-time high.
Beijing's response to that criticism on Thursday was loud and clear. It simply isn't listening. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Well, the celebrations were marked by a heavy security presence in Hong Kong. Adrian Brown is there with more.
Well, in the heart of Hong Kong, a busy street has been sealed off by police, and the reason for that is that traditionally this is the place where the annual July the 1st march begins and where rallies are also held. But for the second year running, police have denied permission for that to happen, citing COVID-19 and warning that anyone taking part in a protest that is not authorized risks violating the new national security law. The police have been stopping people wearing black and checking their IDs. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, John Lee, who is the security secretary and currently standing in for Carrie Lam, the chief executive, gave a speech to an audience at a ceremony on Thursday morning, saying the national security law had brought stability back to Hong Kong after a long period of chaos.
Therefore, as we safeguard the national security, citizens can still enjoy freedoms such as freedom of speech, press, assembly and protest in accordance with the law.
Well, around 10,000 police are on duty here at the moment, and earlier in the day, the police broke up a 4-man protest. This group was calling for the release of all political prisoners. They were questioned, they were briefly detained, but they were not arrested. They were allowed to continue with their march, and the authorities say that is proof that freedoms in Hong Kong remain intact.